Welcome to the HU Movemakers podcast, where we highlight folks that are blazing the trail and making moves in Howard culture. Welcome to the HU Movemaker podcast, where we highlight influential people in Howard culture that are making moves. Yesterday we had a special guest, but she's back today again. We had some technical difficulties.
You don't have to tell people that.
We had technical difficulties, man. She has a Cricket phone. I sent her a T-Mobile Sprint account, so she's good, y'all. She can go. But I want to introduce this guest, man. Proud member of Delta Sigma Theta. She hosts Workin Women Wednesdays on YouTube. Board of directors of the Next Level Tennis and Education Foundation. She is the founder and creator of GladiatHers. So GladiatHers. So check that out. She's a contributing writer for Forbes.com. But GladiatHers, they're dedicated to empowering women through sports, especially on the career side of things. She's a 4-time academic All-American for the Howard University tennis team. Has her JD from UCLA Law School. The Sporty Esquire. Cecelia Townes, welcome back to the show. You're my first guest that I've had on here twice, man. Thank you for coming back. So honored.
Such a distinguishing honor.
So honored. So you are someone that I would say is a fearless woman. You started GladiatHers, which we're going to get into. But not only that, you actually moved from Atlanta to New York in the middle of a pandemic.
I did.
That's courageous. So
Well, thank you.
That's courageous. Some people would say that you're crazy, but I'm gonna say that that's courageous. You know. So why are you moving to New York right now in the middle of all of this stuff that's going on?
So I'm a big believer in following the lead of God, and I think that He has been telling me, building up to April, that it was time to leave Atlanta. It's time for a shift in my career, a shift in relationships, growing GladiatHers, growing my sort of 9-to-5 career, growing my personal relationships, and that wasn't in Atlanta. So I just did it. I mean, I'm actually so glad that I did.
Really?
Because it's already been, I've already seen the shift myself. So yeah, it's perfect. I've found somebody to rent my home out, and that's all she wrote.
Nice. Well,
yeah.
Welcome to New York. So I'm hoping that you'll achieve nothing but greatness, man. So Atlanta was good to you, though. So I want to talk about the organization GladiatHers that you started. You know, when I'm on social media, I always see you talking about different things, giving advice about stuff, whether it's a 1-minute clip or 2-minute clip. You always dropping knowledge about something. And what I noticed about GladiatHers is that that's something that you started for the sole purpose of empowering women. You know, what made you start it? And also tell me what it is.
Yeah. So, I'll tell you what it is first. First, it is an organization that I created to provide content, to provide networking opportunities, mentorship, workshops for women who are in the sports industry. And those women find themselves in a number of ways. So they could be athletes, they could be former athletes, they could be execs, they could be women who are trying to find jobs in the sports industry. But yeah, we want to connect them, inspire them, and empower them to, sort of live out their maximum potential. It started as a blog in 2012. I graduated from law school in 2009. And pretty immediately after that, I started realizing you kind of missed the sports industry. My first job out of law school was with DC government, so I wasn't getting sports there. And so I convinced a group of friends that we were going to get together and start our own sports agency. I was going to be the lawyer. We had someone who was CFA who was going to be on the team. and a couple of other girls who were going to do kind of like athlete wellness and just general sort of management side of things. And we started it, but, you know, I didn't really know anything. We just went for, we didn't get any clients because we didn't know, you know, how significant your networking needed to be. But that was really where I was like, the fire was lit.
Is that a space though that women can be successful in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think we're for sure seeing that now. I actually, there's a woman, Sharice E. She used to be Sharice Williams G. And she's an exec over at Pepsi, and was telling me about how many of her male professional NBA athletes are actually managed by women. So it's occurring.
So what do you mean when you say managed by, like managed? What does that mean?
So they're not necessarily their athlete, but they're helping them develop. I mean, they're not necessarily their agent, but they're helping them develop their brand strategy. They're helping them you know, cultivate these sponsorship deals. If you like, I'll take for instance, Dwayne Wade is managed by this woman. Can you hear that in the background? The fire truck.
Welcome to New York.
Yeah, I know. So he's managed by a Black woman who is also the same woman that manages Zion Williamson.
Okay.
And yeah, so these women, they're not like their agent on paper, but they are doing the vast majority of the background stuff, you know, attaching them to the big brands, attaching them to the movement, helping them create their foundation, that sort of thing.
But you know, you go to UCLA, right, for law school. I mean, obviously that's you're in LA. A lot of primetime athletes work out at UCLA over the summertime. A lot of athletes live in LA. I'm really surprised that you elected to go into government instead of sports, with sports being such a significant part of your life, you know?
Yeah, well, it's funny because my dad was from jump. He was like, you should go be an agent, be in sports, da, da, da. But I mean, even today, working in sports, I still don't have the desire to be an agent. And at the time, you know, I didn't know, you know, about all of the other avenues that I could be involved in sports. And what I was really passionate about was the criminal justice system. And you know, I was going to school to be a public defender and then end up being a defense attorney. Like Johnny Cochran was my guy. Yeah, I mean, life shifts happen and you end up where you're supposed to be anyway. But yeah, when I was at UCLA, there were actually a couple of friends of mine, some Black girls who were very much interested in repping athletes. But I was like, yeah, not really for me. So I found my lane, just not the lane that people have expected, and not as immediately as, you know, people would have expected.
Okay, so you started as a blog, right? GladiatHers, right? So I mean, were you getting like a lot of notoriety from it being a blog? Like, how did it transition from a blog to like an actual, I guess, community for women?
Yeah. So initially it was getting no traction. It was like me and my mama reading that thing, but you know, I kept plugging in. I kept telling people about it. I kept writing. And then as my writing got better, I ended up writing for Espnw. And so writing for the W, writing, you know, for my site, I started developing, you know, just more of a name for the site. And around the same time, I started realizing that women were itching for this community. And so we started hosting. Our first mixer was 2017. So 5 years after we started as a blog, we hosted the first.
When you're writing for Espnw, is this something that's paid, or are you volunteering doing this to kind of get noticed? Well,
I don't write for them anymore, but it was absolutely paid. And it was similar to what I do for Forbes, which is like a contributing writer. So I'm not like a staff writer, but if something moves me, I can write about it. I mean, Espnw is a little different than Forbes, because Forbes, as long as you're writing in your lane, you can write it. For ESPN, you have to get pre-approval, you know, before you write something.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Keep going. So it transitioned.
Yes.
You said it's just you and your mom basically reading this, and
Right.
then where's kind of like the breakthrough moment where you're like, aha, I need to shift to this.
Yeah, I don't know that it was one specific moment, but it was in the summer of 2017. A really good friend of mine who actually is our director of marketing now. I think I was just talking to her and I was like, I think we should do a mixer. I started thinking about the women just in Atlanta that I knew that worked in sports. And so I was like, well, we just need to introduce these women to one another. And it started really small. It's like, I think 15 women showed up, some men too, who supported. And, people were not upset, but they were like, oh, I missed it. Please let me know when the next one is. The next one came, we did summer. It was like 60 people showed up for that. And then, we started just producing a little bit different content, started, giving more professional advice, because from the mixers, we noticed that's really what women were wanting.
So at these mixers,
they
these
want
are
a
just
community, but
these mixers are just conversations, like people just showing up,
no.
networking, having conversations.
No, it's very intentional. We have a panel of executives in sports, and we have somebody moderate the panel. So that's how it starts off. And then there's the mixing and mingling, drinking afterwards. So it's usually about 2-3 hour thing. We did our one last summer was at the Atlanta Braves Stadium. So we had the panel discussion, a little mixing, mingling, and then we did baseball game, and everybody, kept talking and doing their thing.
Wow. So
yeah.
GladiatHers, how'd you come up with that name?
I really don't know. I mean, it was just, I think I'm naturally a pretty creative person. And I knew I wanted something that was going to represent that it was women, but also, a sports twist to it. And that we were, specifically highlighting strong women. And so it just came to me like, we're not gladiators, we're GladiatHers.
Who are some women that you would say, I'll bet, like, she's a gladiator, like, boom.
I mean, personally, my mama, I think, so like, I think one thing that is important for me is that the term, although it's sports related, because of the blog and everything, I want women to all know that we are all strong and all gladiators in our own right. Like, sports isn't what makes you a gladiator. Like, whatever you're doing in your lane, you're killing it. You are, showing up every day and being the best that you can be. That is what makes you a gladiator. But so, yeah, I mean, outside of my mom and, my friends and network of women who inspire me, I would say some of the people we currently see, Keisha Lance Bottoms is not an athlete gladiator, but I think she is certainly, working hard in her community.
Is that the mayor?
On the athlete side, yeah, the mayor of Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I would say on the athlete side, Megan Rapinoe is one of the athletes that I tend to look to as sort of an athlete that gets it, that understands it's beyond, she has power beyond sports.
Is that the soccer player?
Yeah, the soccer player with the sometimes purple, sometimes pink hair.
Yeah. Got you. Yeah, I think she's big on like equal pay for women.
Equal pay. She's big on.
I want to talk about
rights.
That too. I want to talk about that.
Welcome to the Go Fish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Go Fish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate.
Equal pay for women in sports. I mean, come on now.
Okay.
Come on.
So let's be clear. All right, let's be clear. So a couple of things I think are common misconceptions in this fight for equity for women in sports.
So it's a difference between equity and equal.
One thing is that, yes, equitable pay and equal pay are not always the same things, right? So in soccer in particular, since we started talking about Megan Rapinoe,
You got me
equal,
there.
if not
You
more
win that
pay.
one. You won. You win. You win. You win. Go ahead. You win. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And to be clear, this is what I do in my 9 to 5. Like, I'm labor and employment attorney, so I got to be clear on this.
Uh-huh.
But I think it's a really important conversation to have, right? So in soccer, which is a sport where the women of the U.S. soccer team have outperformed the men year after year after year. Financially, they have outperformed them. You know, as far as their wins, they've outperformed them. Notoriety, they're a better team. There is technically no reason that they should not be making just as much or more than the men. It really comes down to contract negotiations. Earlier on, the men essentially negotiated a better deal for themselves. And what the women are trying to do now is kind of like break contracts and say, we deserve, you know, to be getting paid more. So that's one thing. The other thing is you look at a sport like basketball, and, you know, people try to compare what the WNBA players make and the NBA players make. And I would say that I have not heard not one WNBA player say that they be making the same. What they are calling for is more equitable pay. They are calling to be paid in a way that is genuinely reflective of their talent, that is genuinely reflective of the work they do and the sacrifices. There is little to no transparency as far as how much these teams are actually making. You know, there's always been this narrative, oh, the teams aren't making money, so they can't pay these women more. Well, that's just what people say, but the numbers, there's no proof that that is actually the case. And so, you know, they have fought really hard, and this most recent collective bargaining agreement that they came to was an absolute well-deserved upgrade in pay. You know, some of these women were having to play literally 2 seasons because what the W was paying them was insufficient. You know, that's not okay in the wealthiest country in the world for our professional athletes to have a second job. So now the pay is more reflective of, and you know, it's not just like they're playing in some sport like water polo, you know, where people only watch during the Olympics. Like basketball is, you know, an internationally recognized sport. These women play for our national team. So it's not like, yeah, there's money to be earned, and there's money to be paid. And so, yeah, what I was saying was that it's reflected in the new CBA, where they're getting actual maternity leave. They've earned a lot more in salaries. I actually wrote a piece about it for Forbes when they sort of announced the new terms of the agreement.
Okay, so
equitable pay, not equal pay.
Okay, I think that that definitely dials it down a bit. You know, I agree that a world-class athlete, if you're a world-class athlete at that level, you know, you should get, if not the best pay, you should have a super high quality of life. Meaning,
that's right.
You shouldn't be playing back-to-back games on, you know, taking a bus and not having a decent per diem and all of that.
That's right.
But, you know, I guess, you know, I bring that up because, and this is my fault, I probably should have maybe researched a little bit more, but sometimes you watch ESPN and you hear women, and, you know, saying, man, we should, you know, the NBA players, they don't do that to them. And that, and you know, it's kind of like, you know, well, the NBA is a way bigger draw, you know, and at one point in time, these NBA players did have to have these second, like, it wasn't like they just got to where they are overnight. But I agree with the whole equity thing, and 100% agree with the women's soccer team. I mean, if it wasn't for, I mean, the men have sucked. You know what I'm saying? They haven't even even been good at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I mean, I know soccer is like the most popular sport in the world, but I think that men benefit because soccer is number one, the biggest sport in the world. And the men play against these other countries where even if they do suck, because the world is watching, the money comes in, where the women have been killing and they still bring in revenue, you know, but it's, you know, the men just been kind of like right on the coattails of the sport. Whereas American women here, they
Mhm.
have been kind of holding down the sport.
Yes.
So
Driving the culture of the sport.
that's
Yes.
interesting. So as are you labor and employment personnel? Like what type of lawyer are you right now?
So those are the same thing. So personnel attorney, means
Okay.
an attorney that works on issues of like employment law. So the difference between like labor and employment law is really the type of people. So, some of the employees that we work with are unionized. So then that's labor law because we're dealing with labor unions and collective bargaining agreements. And then some of the employees that I work with are not in unions. So then that's general employment law.
Okay. So
And I work on go ahead.
oh no, go ahead. You work on what?
On the defense side for a federal agency. And I essentially help defend the government from claims against it that run the gamut from discrimination, allegations of discrimination, harassment, unlawful
So you sticking up for the man. You sticking up for the man.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, now listen, now I will tell you this. If my client does something that is unlawful, I'm not an attorney that's not going to concede that fact and say, we need to settle this. I am the attorney who, if I see something unlawful happening, I'm going to stop them in their tracks, let them know you can't engage in this behavior. But I defend because in my experience, the vast majority of claims that occur, at least in my agency, are not actually, listen, they are not actually valid claims. What you will see?
You be denying people their benefits. Oh my, you so petty. That is so petty.
Benefits.
That's so petty.
Listen, the vast majority of things that I do see though, are people not getting along with their managers and management and not necessarily knowing how to handle it, or, and people just file a complaint because they don't get their way. Oh, well, I didn't get this. I didn't get the promotion that I wanted, so I'm going to file a claim. Or, we've had employees sort of tag team it and file just a bunch of frivolous complaints, just so they can get more money so that they can settle. So, that's been my experience.
So do you actually go to court and litigate?
Yes. So I am a litigator. I would say probably right now, I would say 70% of my work is litigation. But it fluctuates. But yeah,
are you?
I
so
litigate.
what level of people are you like? Like going against? Is it like the entry level person? Is it high up? Does it vary?
It could be high up. It could be directors. It could be some like a GS3 could be suing us. Usually the higher management isn't suing. So like the superintendent of a park or the secretary, the director of one of our bureaus, they usually aren't doing the suing. They're the ones getting sued.
So why women though? Why not minorities, or, that's such a hot buzzword, minorities and inclusion. Why has your focus been on women?
Because I'm a woman. No, I'm just kidding. That's part of it, right? Like I think everybody has their purpose, right? And I think for me, my purpose on earth is to like empower people. And I have found that I easily form relationships with women. Having played sports, a lot of my core women were athletes as well. So I feel like it just fell into place. I think that there's a lot of different ways that you can fulfill your purpose, but I think it's easiest when you fulfill your purpose through your strengths, through your affinities, right? So obviously I had an affinity for sports. I have an affinity for, Women are easy for me to connect to, easy to talk to. I understand women because I am a woman. So it's kind of like just following my internal guide, you know?
With this work that you do with women, man, would you say that you're a feminist? Would you say that you identify with that?
I mean, so I am a big believer in equality for women. But, you know, the feminist movement has been largely like white and and has excluded Black women. And so like I shy away from like being called a feminist because I don't think it encompasses the intersectionality of race and sex, right? So maybe a womanist, but I am pro-women is really what I like to say. I'm pro-women,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm pro-Black.
Oh yeah, you better be. Shit, we in this interview. No, but I feel that. So okay, so your organization helps women. GladiatHers. So I like how you broke that down. So I want to get your opinion, man, because it seems like a lot of movements start with, let's say, Black people, and then other minorities seem to like benefit, or like the Me Too movement starts with this, and then now it's a Black woman issue, then it becomes a white. You know, it's just how do you protect the integrity of what you're doing so that it can stay true to the original purpose, but at the same time, you know, you want to be as inclusive as possible. Obviously, you're a Black woman.
Yeah.
I'm sure you want to help Black women, and I'm sure you want to help all women. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is that, you know, because I want to talk about that first of all, you know, because the Me Too thing, I think even, you know, Black Lives Matter, when you look even deeper into that, it, you know, it becomes something that if you don't read up on it, you're like, oh, damn, I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Me Too, you know, same thing. I mean, with your thing, you know, how do you protect the integrity of the mission?
So I think there's a couple things. One, culture vultures are real. You know, they have the people, and not just white people have been ripping off Black people for time immemorial, like since time began. So, you know, it speaks to our greatness. It speaks to really our power, right? And, you know, there are going to be some things that is just hard because of the way that our systems are designed. You know, it's hard to prevent culture vultures from doing their thing, right? Because a lot of times we are creating just naturally through our sense of creation. And we don't necessarily have the capital. We don't necessarily have the education to know how to protect our creations, right? So I think for me, one of the ways that I do that is by, you know, GladiatHers is trademarked. So we trademark the name, you know, and, you know, protect the things that we have created, get copyrights for things. So that's one way to legally protect what I'm creating. But it's also like, I can't move in fear that somebody's going to bite my style, right? I have to move with the mentality, the mindset that I want my message to get out. And if in the process of getting out, somebody tries to bite me, I mean, it is what it is. I'm going to protect it, you know, use the law to protect myself as much as possible, but then just keep distinguishing myself, you know, as the original, and keep creating, you know, so that they're always 10 steps behind. I think that to me is the way to go about it. You know, part of, you know, talking to my marketing person, Charlene Castellano, she runs Rep and Brand, you know, she's very adamant about me being the face of it, because I'm totally cool being in the background. And she's always like, nah, like you need to, if we're having a panel, you need to moderate it. You need to like just make sure people know that you are GladiatHers. GladiatHers is you. And you know, it's that's kind of the rationale behind it, because, you know, if you and the brand are synonymous, people can't just be coming and stealing it from you. In 2018, the summer of 2018, we hosted one of the mixers that I was telling you about. And one of our panelists, Taria Williams, who's a director over at Turner Sports, just had the idea. She was like, you're doing a great thing. You need to make sure that you guys have a presence for Super Bowl that was in Atlanta. So I said, okay. I ended up getting in contact with a woman who was on the Super Bowl host committee. And I basically pitched to her the idea of having an event that was geared towards women in the sports industry. I essentially looked at their schedule, and I realized that nothing was on the schedule that was geared towards women. So they liked what I came up with. And although the host committee didn't give us any money, they really helped us in contact with a lot of people. So we had BMW, Coca-Cola, the Arthur Blank Foundation were some of our really major sponsors, the Braves, the Hawks. They were all in sponsors.
That's good.
And we had like 150 women come out. We had panel discussions, a mixer, workshop, and it's all kind of like an event really encapsulates everything that Gladiators is about, right? And because that was so successful, we did it again in Miami for the Super Bowl LIV in Miami. Again, a great success. We had some great sponsors, some great speakers. And so we're going to bring it back in 2021. It probably won't be attached to the Super Bowl, but it will definitely, we'll probably do it in the summer. And I mean, related to your culture vultures, our conversation about that, we can definitely see that there's a lot of women now who are, I want to be on the women in sports movement. And it's great to me. Like, I think that the more women are pushing our agenda, the better. Like, I don't look at that as something to be that's concerning to me. I believe there's plenty. I think people who are afraid of competition, they have a scarcity mentality, like that there's not enough room for all of us. And I don't move like that. I applaud everyone who's trying to get into this space, because there's more than enough room for everybody.
That's good. That's good. I mean, because the last thing we want is for something like this that you started to be hijacked or misrepresented, in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Do you have any great stories of women that may have gotten an opportunity or any statistics that you have as a result of your organization that has really helped change sports and opportunities for women?
Well, I know, okay, so there are a couple of stories that I have been privy to. One, so we had a photographer for the first summit, and she was like this young girl. Her name's Brooklyn. And I think, so she started actually, what she did was she showed up to volunteer for the summit. And then she wanted to take some pictures. And we were like, fine, take whatever pictures. Anyway, she's posting the pictures. And what's his name? Jadena, the artist?
Yeah.
The rapper? Yeah. So his people see her work. She is from the summit, and she ends up going and interviewing for them. And now she's like a full-time traveling photographer from them. And she had increased, he has whatever his following is now is solely because of her. She set his Instagram fire.
Wow,
and it was
dope.
Really based off of, the work that she did at the summit.
What made you come to Howard to be around all these other smart, pretty, successful women?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
So I kind of early on knew I wanted the HBCU experience. Both of my parents went to South Carolina State. So I was kind of privy to what their homecomings were like, but I knew I didn't want to go there. And then basically Howard offered me this incredible full scholarship, academic scholarship.
So you must have been a beast.
Campus.
You must have been a beast. Because Howard don't give away no money. You know what I'm saying? So you academically, you must have been a problem. You must have been a problem.
Yeah, I was on point. I was on point with the books. And I came, whatever weekend it was that I came, my campus visit, I think it was the Alphas that came out. And so the yard was just crazy. And I was like, what? I can come here for free? Like, sign the kid up.
Yeah.
And that was really
real
all
tough.
wrote. Like, I didn't know. And I knew at that time I wanted to be a doctor. So I knew that it had a great, medical program. So yeah, I think I only applied after that. I applied to one other school. It was Xavier. And I just applied just because people kept saying, you can't just have one school. You can't just have one school. But I'm like, I already know where I'm going. They got to give me the scholarship. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need to keep applying. This is where I want to be.
What was your major coming in?
It was biology coming in. And after sitting in Dr. Carr's class freshman year, I was like, nope, Afro-Am is my major.
Really? You know what? I was a bio major. I was a bio major coming in. And after looking at the classes, I didn't take one biology class. I was like, I thought I wanted to be a dentist. I was like, you know what? I could be a dentist, boom, in and out. But I saw them core requirements. I was like, I'm straight. So I was in arts and sciences, but I was just taking school of business classes, and then I just transferred my junior year. But I was looking for the easiest classes that I could take and still graduate on time, and biology was not it at all. Not it.
I think what set it in stone for me was my first chemistry class. And I was like, you know what? I don't need this in life. Like I see that I'm way more interested in what's going on in these Pro-Am classes. Yeah, I couldn't really understand, the professor at the time in chemistry. Me and my classmates were having to go into the library. It was too much. But,
you're a 4-time academic All-American. What is it?
Yeah.
What are the requirements to get that, first off?
Obviously, well, I think they have them in each division. So Howard was Division I. So I don't know if the standards in like D2, D3 are different, but you have to maintain a certain GPA. I honestly don't know what that GPA was. I can pretty much guarantee that it's probably lower than I had, because I will say that I think standards for athletes in college, they don't really set them that high academically, but whatever it was, I just, I met it every semester.
Wow, that's interesting, because we didn't talk about this, but you came to Howard, you weren't on the tennis team. You had a full academic scholarship. So, being that you get to Howard and you see the Alphas coming out, that's a social thing. You experiencing Howard on a social level. So in a lot of respects, you sacrifice a big part of that experience to play tennis, and you didn't have to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's crazy because, go ahead.
No, did you have any sports scholarship at all?
No, I mean, I honestly and truly, I knew fairly early on that I had no desire to, or at least I thought I had no desire to play sports in college. Like, I knew that it was like a huge burden. And from that social aspect, I was like, I don't want to be able to give that up. So coaches in high school, I played tennis, but like I was really good as a sprinter. So there would be coaches that would come talk to my high school coach and ask if I had done the NCAA's clearinghouse and stuff. And he was like, nah, like she said, she don't want to run in college. So, there was never I didn't even engage with college coaches and the NCAA clearinghouse process. Because in my mind, I wasn't playing sports in college. I was about to get this academic scholarship and do whatever I wanted to.
Damn. Why would you?
Yeah, and
did you love tennis that much that you just said, you know what, I'm gonna just play, and I'm not gonna kick it.
It's part of it. I mean, I did pretty early on getting to Howard. I missed being in sports. I was like, what is all free time? You know, I had great friends, and it was like, dang, you about to go play tennis? Like, okay, girl, you know, we'll see you later. But yeah, I think it's part of my destiny, right? Like, you know, I feel like God knew what I really needed down the line. And so my family was friends with the coach, Coach Larry Strickland, who I think just retired like this month or last month. And when he found out I was on campus, he was like, what are you doing? Like, I know you're good enough to be on the team, so come try out. We could use you, because I actually think there was a shortage. I think they were short 1 or 2 girls that year. And so, yeah, I tried out, made the team. It was one of the best decisions I made while at Howard. You know, lifelong friends. I think it helped be super disciplined and has really, you know, led the trajectory of life thus far. So,
was there ever a point where you wanted to quit?
No, I don't think there was a point where I ever wanted to quit, but there was definitely a bunch of like, dang, why are you doing this again? Just because, you know, because I actually started my spring semester, I got to experience my first homecoming freshman year. And then after that, it was like, oh, we don't really get spring break. We don't really get the full homecoming experience, you know, because we have ITAs, we have practices. So on a fairly regular basis, you could kind of be like, dang, like I really wish, you know, I had a little more freedom, but never wanted to quit.
How good was the team?
We were pretty good. I mean, the time I was there, we never won the MEAC championship. I think all 4 years the Institute won.
How is a bougie school like Howard? How we should at least be winning tennis.
Well, I was about to explain that at the Institute, the coach at the time, he was really only recruiting in Europe. He would go get these players to play at the Institute who like were older than us, and you know they had been playing on tour in Europe. It was crazy. So yeah, they dominated for a while. And you know, one of the things I really appreciated about Coach was that he was adamant about not doing that. He's like, you know, this is a HBCU for a reason. We are going to give Black kids, mostly American Black kids, these scholarships.
Who was the schools that was like trash? That y'all was like, oh, that's a W. when the schedule came out, you was like, W. Who?
We were going with them. Yep, Del State, Delaware State, UMES. And at the time, funny enough, Morgan State. But now Morgan State has won on the men and women's side. Why? Because my baby brother, is the head coach of the men.
Oh, really? So he nice. Okay.
Yeah, he is nice. Yeah.
Damn, that's what's up, man. Who are the schools that was like, yo, this is gonna be a problem? I know FAMU probably was a problem every year.
FAMU was a problem every year. South Carolina State, I would say my my junior and senior year, they were becoming problems. Yeah. And then obviously Hampton. So it was a dog fight.
And when y'all practice,
we had some.
When y'all practice, y'all practice across the street. What's that park called by Howard?
Benjamin. Is that
where y'all practice at?
That's
damn, boy, that's
in the
fucked
winter,
up.
Coach, in the winter, I'm gonna tell you a funny story. So, well, first in the winter we would get indoor courts, and that's where you get you got to get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock because you know we have we call for court time at 6 a.m. But we would have to make sure that we got out to the Banneker courts early because you know folks would be trying to play tennis on the courts when we had practice. So we'd have to ask people like, oh, Howard Tennis has practice. And when the neighborhood started gentrifying, the Caucasians were like, not really about it. They were like trying to give us pushback. Like all the Black folks would be like, all right, you know, the Howard
right, they be asking you, do you have a permit? Let me see your permit. Let me see your permit.
Right. What do you mean? I was out here like, so it did become a problem eventually, but yeah, practicing on the public court. Yeah.
That's what's up. You know, that's a true Black college experience. You know what I'm saying? Because you're right in the middle of the city, right in the middle of the park. You might, you know, shootouts over here, cookouts on this side.
Yep.
Got to fight for the court time. You know, you got parts of the court that got cracks in it. You know what I'm saying?
Dudes trying to holler at you as you practicing and they walking by.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's Howard, man. Howard is so multifaceted in that regard. I mean, what else? I mean, so I guess tennis and academics pretty much was like the dominated your life for those 4 years at Howard. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Active in the NAACP, and I was political actions chair for a year. Was in Kwame Ture Society, which is essentially for the African American study majors. You know, get together, have discussions, read books. What else? I mentored. We would mentor kids from the local elementary and high schools. So that was about it. I mean, I did have a job my second, or I mean, maybe my summer going into my senior year. I worked at Up Against the Wall.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. That's what's up.
Which I don't know how
you spent a lot of time on
that.
Georgia Avenue.
Yeah, don't say it like that, though.
I mean, not like that, but, you know, between tennis and work, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was always on Georgia Ave. That's right.
What dorm did you stay in?
iLab.
As a freshman?
The annex.
Okay.
Annex.
So you bougie and smart. Okay. Got it.
That's right, because I had the academic scholarship, so they put us in the annex. And then junior and senior year, I was in, what is that, the East Tower?
Yeah, you
where
were
the grad students are.
Yeah, that's what's up. So when you graduate, you're studying for like the LSAT, and then you go to law school?
Yeah, essentially. I mean, I went straight through. I took the LSAT. I took the LSAT. I want to say like the fall of my senior year. I took like a course to help me prepare for it. And then, I went straight into law school, did my 3 years there, and took bar, sat for the Maryland bar.
Girl, so smart. That's what's up. So why don't black athletes, like the top black athletes, come to HBCUs?
I think it's a lot. I think it's exposure. You know, we are not driving the views on television. You know, our teams, our conferences, you know, aren't what NBC and ABC are showing. I think facilities, you know, because our budgets are much smaller, our facilities are not as robust. But
let's say a sport like tennis.
I think that,
a sport like tennis, right? Like, I could understand football. You want to have good facilities because you constantly getting in physical, you know what I'm saying? So you want your trainers to be tip top. A sport like tennis, I feel like in tennis, you know, by the time you're 17, 18, if you're going to be a pro. You know what I'm saying? You kind of know, like, because it's a super competitive sport. And if it's D1, it's D1. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get the opportunity to play whoever in an individual sport like that. I mean, what would you do to attract, if you was like, if they say, you know, Sporty Esquire, we going to make you the athletic director of Howard. And we want to have we want to compete at the highest levels. What are maybe 5 things that you say immediately, and they say, man, you know, what do we need to do? You know,
so I'm going to say for sure you got to invest in the facilities. I mean, like, there's no reason that a D1 tennis team doesn't have their own courts. And I mean, that's even true of like the football team. Our football team shared that field with lacrosse, with soccer. That was the field they practiced on. That was the field they played on, right? So it really is like a facility situation. I would say investing in our facilities. I would also say, like, it's going to have to be a conference. It's going to have to be a conference effort, right? So, like, we have to, as conference, as the MEAC, figure out ways to get our athletes on TV more often. So, you know, something like the Celebration Bowl, I think, is really good because at least, you are guaranteeing, your football players, like, hey, if we got a good squad, that's like the first bowl game of the year. That's a nationally televised thing. But you need more of that. You need more opportunities for the kids to be seen. I would say that you really have to sell them. I mean, especially kids of color, you're selling them on the cultural experience, that, beyond whatever sport you're playing, the coaches actually care about your education, and you're going to get an experience at an HBCU that you literally can't find anywhere else. Like, you cannot get what we get as far as, the trips, just the way we do homecoming, our professors, all the stuff, you can't get at PWI. So I would sell them on the culture. Those are the big three things, but I think you start with money in the facilities, honestly, if you're talking about athletes. Yeah.
Should players get paid?
Well, I think, again, this is similar to the equity and equal pay thing, right? That you have to distinguish between your athletes, I think. So for a school like Howard to pay their athletes, literally, we don't have the budget to do that. Putting a sports program is already costing Howard University money, right? So if the school is not making revenue from sports and is really just providing free scholarships for student athletes, then I think there is an argument that at those institutions, they don't have to pay their student athletes. They are legit getting paid through their scholarship. But at these Power 5 schools where they're absolutely making money off of their football players, their basketball players, then in general, their departments are earning revenue, then I think, there's no reason that they shouldn't be getting paid. And at the very least, student athletes across the board should be able to earn money, right? So if they have a significant enough following, they should be able to earn money off their name, image, and likeness, which for the longest, was taken away from them. Now we're in a situation where the NCAA is sort of coming to its senses and saying, if you got 50,000 Instagram followers and somebody wants to pay you, because you're a recognizable student athlete, you can do that.
Welcome to the Go Fish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Go Fish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate.
Do you feel like Howard prepared you for law school?
Absolutely. 110%. Now, I will say there were some intricacies of law school, like outlines and, the study groups and sort of the politics that I wasn't prepared for. But part of that, I think, was because I didn't know I wanted to go to law school. So had I said, hey, I'm going to law school early, I'm sure there were programs at Howard that could have prepared for that. Because I literally decided the summer before senior year that I was going to try to go to law school. But other than that, as far as, my quality of education, the level of confidence that I had in myself and my education, absolutely Howard prepared me to be able to go into, a very, very weak space and be successful.
Go ahead, girl. Going with your bad self, man. So you go all the way to the West Coast. When you get to LA and you're there, are you thinking, man, I love sports. I'm gonna be like, is it were you always like, I'm gonna go into and do the labor thing? Like, or were you like, I want to be a sports agent? Like, what was your goal? Or what were you hoping to accomplish by going to law school, especially UCLA?
So I was an African studies major, and I was really, big on supporting the culture. And what I wanted to do initially was be an international human rights attorney. So I applied for UCLA's special program related to that. And, I was like, catch me at the UN, locking some folks up for violating human rights. But I actually didn't get into that program. It was like filled. So
What was they
I was
thinking?
like, that's okay. Yeah, I got it. I have no idea,
What
but
the
it's
fuck?
good. It's all good because I wouldn't.
No, it's
if I
not
had
all
taken that
good.
path, I
No, it's
wouldn't-
not all
There
good.
wouldn't. It's all good. There probably wouldn't be a gladiator now, right? So,
Yeah.
I got into school, but not into that program, and then I started like, all right, well, I can do criminal defense work. So I did. In my summers, I worked at the NAACP. I worked at the Public Defender Service in DC. I had a clinic with the Federal Defender Service. So that's where I was going. That was my headspace. But when I graduated and passed the bar, all of these places went on hiring freezes. So
that was
district attorneys
09.
went on
09, right?
That was 09. Yeah. Yep. So I was like, well, look, I got to get it how I live. Like, who hiring? And so
That's real.
I actually, one of my dad's ex-girlfriends knew the general counsel at this office in DC called the Office of Campaign Finance. And they hooked us up. And that was my first job.
Dang,
And
your dad
for a
came through with
while,
the plug. Your dad had to pull out that black book.
He had the plug. That's right.
He pulled out that black book like, baby, don't worry, baby. Let me. Charmaine.
I got you.
I know that we broke up. It wasn't cool how we broke up, but that's what's up. That's what's up. Yo, Pops came through, man.
He did. He's a DC native, so he had an extensive network. But when I first got there, I was still very much in the mindset like, all right, I know this is temporary. I'm still about to be trying to get these jobs at a public defender's office. But like, that still wasn't panning out. But it was through that I had a lot of downtime. And I was like, what's really missing is sports. And that's when I ended up starting the sports agency. We called it Omni Sports Agency. That flopped. Then I spent a lot of time trying to get hired at school as like a compliance officer, maybe in the general counsel's office, working with student athletes. Didn't nobody want to hire me there. And then that's when I finally came up with Gladiators.
Wow.
So it was a lot of
in our conversation, man, it seems like I'm pulling things out. So in our conversation, man, you've had a lot of success in your life. And it seemed, but in talking to you, I learned two things. One, I did learn from this conversation that you were good enough to be on a team, but you weren't the best player. You weren't, didn't have a winning record. What made you go out there and still compete, knowing that, hey, this other person I'm playing is better than me? I might lose 6-2, 6-2. It might be an hour match. You know what I'm saying? What made you?
First of all, didn't nobody go out to anybody's court talk about this person is better than me? That's never how it starts.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
I'm asking you, where does that type of where do you get that hunger from, like that thirst for more? Like you said, you literally joined a tennis team because you had free time. Yeah. To me, free time was the reason to not do nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think it comes initially from my parents, right? Like they definitely instilled this winner can do mentality. Like my mom told me there was nothing I couldn't do. My dad told us the same. My dad was our tennis coach. He would have us, if we used the word can't around him, that was push-up. Kind of like, you don't ever limit yourself. So that was ingrained in us from a very young age to go after whatever we wanted to. And, you are a winner. And even if at the end of the day, the scoreboard doesn't say, you won today, that is not what's dictating in life, whether you're a winner or not, So I think that helps. I think just also having other things in mind, right? Sports, I was good at them and I enjoyed them, but they were never my end all be all. It was always life outside of sports that was probably more important than sports. And so I think that speaks to the perspective that I had that, I can keep going out and trying my hardest and, motivating my teammates and all of that. But at the end of the day, all of this my life is bigger than sports.
So
yeah,
when you
I'm
were
not
at
having
Howard,
the
you had that attitude even when you was at Howard, like you were thinking about what was next.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, I told you I came there not thinking I was playing sports. So there was never like a moment where I was like, well, this is going to be it. And I was the team captain for the last 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
So
because
tell me,
that's not
talk to me about
dictated
that.
by who's
Why
the
were you
best
chosen
player.
to be? Why were you chosen to be team captain and you weren't the best player and you weren't on scholarship?
Because leadership isn't dictated by your win-loss record. Like you can be the best player and have the worst leadership mentality and can't lead, right? So I think that I was a really good leader, that I was able to, this goes again about my relationships with women. I was able to bond with my teammates. They knew, some stuff popped off and I always had their back. They respected me for that. I think they also respected, especially senior year, that I did keep going back, even though I was having a terrible season. And really, I mean, talked to my coach about it, and looking back, it wasn't about skill. It was my mentality. I was like all in my head. But yeah, people respect those things in a leader, not necessarily their win or loss record. Can you motivate me? Can you help keep me, abreast of what the mission is and help drive my commitment and, remind me of why we're doing it when we don't want to be doing it.
When did you get married?
2011.
2011,
Yep.
you get
2
married.
years after law school.
2 years after law school. Now that life is complete. We law degree, Howard degree, marriage,
Yep.
about to do
Yep.
this into this phase of life. And then how long were you married?
Something like, all right, so it was July 2011 to October 2013. So like 2.5 years, roughly.
Okay,
Give or
2.5
take.
years, roughly.
Yeah. Those are the dates on the certificate and the order.
Man,
The marriage certificate and the divorce order.
that's interesting, man.
Yeah.
How old were you when you got when the divorce happened?
I think 29.
29.
Yeah, it was like
okay.
20. Yeah, because it was finalized in October, and then I moved to Atlanta in February and turned 30 that March. So 29.
What?
Which was tough because, at 30, you feel like, oh, I'm supposed to have it figured out. Like, I'm not supposed to be a divorcee. like in here, restarting my life. So that was hard. But yeah, one of the best decisions I made.
Boy, I would hope so. Divorcing somebody better be the best decision you make. Definitely don't want to stay in that.
Well, I mean, some people divorce. Yeah, but some people divorce and they don't want to get the divorce. Or some people divorce and then they regret it. And that was definitely not my experience.
That's real.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What did he do? Take us inside.
And the long and short is lied and cheated profusely, like to the point of no return. And it was like every time I found out about a new one, the next one got crazier and crazier. To the point where like literally people I barely knew were coming and telling me these sort of bizarre stories. And I was like, you know what? I gotta go.
How did that affect you, like from a self-esteem perspective, like going through when you're hearing people talk stuff like that? How does that affect you? Because you obviously on paper, you got it going on. You know what I'm saying? When I look at your Instagram popping, you know what I'm saying? How does that affect you at your core when you're going through something like that?
So a couple of things. One, for me, I feel like it started to make me question my judgment, right? Like, all right, how did you even end up in this situation? Like, what is your character flaw that has allowed you to get here? It was a lot of that, but there was also, I really am super thankful for the way that, my mom raised me, especially, she went through a divorce, but also, the things that she instilled in me, and also the things my dad instilled in me, right? And it was this sense of like, you can be fearless, and you know, you don't have to be afraid of making mistakes. And, you know, if something is not meeting your standard, you throw it away, right? So even though they didn't know exactly all that was going on, you know, they were always just in the midst of it, encouraging me to do what I knew was best for me and to not settle. Like, you know, you're a queen. If somebody's not treating you as such, check the deuces. So yeah, there was, I think that was the part that encouraged me to lead, in spite of, you know, the questions, the doubts, the confusion that there. Those were the things in the back of my mind that was telling me, you can still do it.
When did you become a Delta?
Not too long ago, spring 2018, Atlanta Suburban Alumni Chapter.
Spring 2018, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So why not be a Delta at Howard? That's Alpha Chapter. I'm sure you've heard that question a million times.
Yeah, it is. 1,001 times. Well, for me, I wasn't in the right headspace. I mean, anybody that knows Greek life at Howard knows that you put in effort even to just get the attention of you know, my now sorors. And, you know, being a student athlete, I didn't have time to devote to going to the event. I also just think my mentality wasn't right. Like it wasn't something that I was ready. One of my best friends, who is Alpha Chapter, always tells me, you know, you weren't humble. It wasn't your time. And I mean, I just totally agree with her on that point. It wasn't my time. Like, I am so grateful for my chapter and my line sisters, and the experience that I did have. So yeah.
Okay.
I think that's why it wasn't the right time.
No, because a lot of people obviously will go out for, you know, these sororities or fraternities and not make it in undergrad, and you know, not knowing that, you know, there's an opportunity to be a part of it later on, and specifically at Howard, you know, because it's highly competitive, you know, and I think
absolutely.
You know, sometimes, you know, people view the grad chapter different from undergrad. What advice do you have for somebody that comes into Howard, you know, 18-year-old, you know, want to get the best out of Howard, academic scholarship, the whole nine? What advice do you have for that person?
Yeah, I say go for it. Like that is the time of your life when you can be truly fearless and you can experiment. I don't want you experimenting with drugs and alcohol and getting crazy like that. But like, if it speaks to you, like, go see what it's about. You know, don't feel stuck because I, you know, came from this place, or because people know me as this, or because this is my major, that you can't explore the world. I would say explore the world, find out who you really are, what really makes you tick, because that really can dictate and should be what's dictating your success and your career. And the sooner you can figure that out in to me, a very safe environment like a Howard University, the better off you're going to be.
What about when people say, man, you know, the world isn't black. Why would you go to a black college? You know, it doesn't have the resources.
First of all,
you're going to be playing tennis on Georgia Avenue.
The world is very black. That is a common misconception. Like, I guess, our numbers are in a minority, but like what we just talked about, culture vultures, black people are dictating around the world. So the world is very black, even though people don't want to admit that. Secondly, you have been, as the typical African in America, you have been indoctrinated into white society. You've learned white history. You have learned what it means to sort of behave white. Like, you that stuff. You have been taught that. Come to a school where people are going to be intentional about teaching you about yourself, about learning about the diversity of what it is to be Black, because the white world is not going anywhere. Like, it'll be there when you graduate.
Go ahead with your bad self. How can people stay in touch or keep up with your movement?
Yeah, so I'm Sporty Esquire on all social media. If you want to keep up with what GladiatHers is doing, we're GladiatHers on Instagram, at We Are GladiatHers on Twitter. My email is info@CeceliaTownes.com. Honestly, if there are any kids who are about to be new to Howard and they want advice, if they're current Howard students who are trying to go to law school, trying to be entrepreneurs, like, please use the email, hit me up, DM me on Instagram. I'm really down for supporting our youth, encouraging everybody to go be fearless.
That's amazing, man. So what's going to be the legacy of Cecelia Townes, 100 years from now? What are we saying about what are we saying about you? What are we saying about GladiatHers?
We're saying she helped women shine, and she did so without fear. That's what the people are going to be saying. That's my tombstone.
And we're going to say that fake ass slip and fall, we ain't getting paid for that. All right.
You not getting paid for me.
I got you on tape.
My client.
I got your ass on tape playing tennis the next day. Okay. All right. So real quick, we're going to jump into some rapid fire real quick. All right. And some Howard Jeopardy just to see what you know about good old HU. So let's do Jeopardy first. So do you know what year Howard was founded?
Yeah, 1867.
Good. Okay. What is the Howard motto?
Truth and service.
Very good.
Yeah.
How do you spell Crampton?
Cramton.
Oh, good. No P, huh? Okay, good job. Reared against the eastern sky. What comes next?
Oh, I took the swim class where we had to sing this while treading water, and now I can't remember. Reared against the eastern
somebody drowned.
Sky. Somebody drowned. On high. Something on high.
Proudly there on Hilltop High.
Proudly there on Hilltop High.
Who is the president of Howard University?
Ooh, he's a doctor. He's Caribbean. His name is, and I get all the alumni emails. I never read. What's his first name? Can you give me a clue?
Wayne.
That didn't help.
Not the clue you
Williams?
thought.
Wayne Williams?
Williams sounds like a brother with a job. No, right. Wayne Frederick. Dr. Wayne Frederick.
Oh, Frederick. Dr. Wayne Frederick.
Do you know who was Howard named after?
General Oliver Howard or something like that.
Good job. Which team on Howard's campus has won their 5th straight MEAC title?
Volleyball. Women's volleyball.
Very good. Very good stuff. You stayed in the annex. What is the address of the annex?
Ooh, 1600 4th Street.
I don't know.
Something
let me
that.
Look it up. 2225 4th Street. You was close, okay. Man. You was close.
I had the street.
Yeah, we would have eventually walked into it. What is the zip code of Howard?
Ooh, 20006. 20006. Yeah, I'm gonna say that.
20059.
Oh, 59.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I was way off.
What is if you can get within $5,000, what is the average cost of Howard University before financial aid?
That's including tuition so that's tuition and books and room and board.
Yep.
I'm gonna say $35,000.
It's $44,651. $44,000.
Dang, 44,000.
It's a lot of bread. A lot of bread.
That's a lot of money. Times have changed because it definitely wasn't that expensive when
Hell no. That's why I say your scholarship was good. So let's see. Rapid fire. So with rapid fire, you just got to give an answer. Okay.
Okay.
You just got to give an answer, and no explanation. Okay. First thing that comes to mind, Gino Ariema.
Oh, UConn.
You got to start one, bench one, or cut one. Serena, Martina, Navratilova, Billie Jean King. Now remember, some of these folks are bigger than tennis.
Yeah, no. So we're going to always start Serena. We're going to bench Billie Jean, and we're going to cut Navratilova. Yeah. Because I feel like you get the LGBTQ community in Billie Jean and in Martina, right? So I think Billie Jean, in starting the Women's Sports Foundation, she's had a larger impact overall than Martina. And I'm never cutting Serena.
Can't do that. Mm-hmm. Make America great again.
Bullshit.
Howard China or China Wonder?
China Wonder.
Mm.
It was closer to me.
Drew Hall or Carver?
That's Drew. I don't think I dated anybody that was at Carver. I don't think.
Jamel Hill.
Jamel Hill. Gladiator.
Jordan or LeBron?
I mean, LeBron as a person, Jordan on my team as a player.
Is homecoming better as an alum or a student?
As an alum.
True. I didn't send you tipsy, so
yeah.
I figured you'd say that.
I don't think we're gonna have the homecoming this year, by the way. Damn.
I know, I'm salty. I'm like, damn, I thought of a genius podcast, and I ain't gonna be able to see nobody. Damn.
Nope.
When did you first learn to say no?
I mean, no, I'm still learning to say no. I would say I started really feeling empowered to say no, probably at Howard, But like as a woman, we're socialized to give a lot. So a constant effort for us to say no.
What's the most offensive thing someone's ever said to you?
The most offensive. I mean, I've been called some things. I will say the most offensive, and this goes back a long. I was called a black bitch in high school, and we were
hey,
walking,
that person, that's petty.
It was like spring break. Yeah, we were walking. It was spring break, and some like white guys were like on a balcony, and they were yelling out to us. And I think like we just didn't give them any attention. They was like, "You black bitch." And it was just like, not offensive because I thought I was a black bitch, but like, how dare this like white boy yell that from his balcony? He has no, like, just, yeah. We were, when we started fighting with them, we're on the sidewalk, they're on the balcony, like we yelling and cussing in the street because I was, offended. But there have been moments like that in my life, and I typically will fight back.
Yo,
yeah.
why do sisters got to
I
deal with all
I
of
grew
this?
up in South Carolina.
Why do
crazy.
sisters deal with so much?
It's a lot, bro. It's a lot.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Tailgate or Yard Fest?
Ooh, tailgate. Now, because, I mean, honestly, Yard Fest now, I don't hardly know half of these artists.
Yeah.
After that 1 year where they tried charging people, it just sort of, it hasn't been the same since.
Yeah, that's real. Howard men don't cheat.
Yeah, Howard men don't cheat. I agree.
When did you first realize that you were the shit?
I always knew it, man. No lie. And I'm thinking, like, I grew up, my first memories, I think it's because of my parents, like, there's nothing you can't do, you shit. Like, go get it.
Man. U Street or Adams Morgan?
Oh, okay. Adam Morgan. When we were in school, I mean, that was the first place I got in with a fake ID. So I'm gonna call it.
It's funny because right now U Street is popping, but when we was in school, Adams Morgan was,
it was sketch.
Yeah. Start, bench, or cut, orientation, homecoming, graduation.
Start, homecoming.
And we're talking about freshman orientation.
Right. Cut, orientation, bench, graduation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
we're not talking about orientation week, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, we're gonna flip that. Start, homecoming, bench, orientation, and then cut. What's it called?
Graduation.
What was the other one? Graduation. Yeah.
Yeah, homecoming. I mean, freshman orientation. That was like by far the best experience for me.
Yeah.
What's the biggest L that you took?
Biggest L?
Yeah.
I mean, low key, I don't feel like I have taken L's. Obviously, I have had losses. Like, I have been unsuccessful, but I just feel like in the long run, they've really been lessons. So, it's hard for me to say the biggest one.
Okay.
Because I can look at them all now in a positive way. I mean, getting divorced, that was a loss at the time, but I feel like it was so like liberating. It was the best decision of life,
I could definitely understand that.
Yeah.
Last thing, IG model. I see it. I see it.
No.
For bookings, where do people contact you for bookings?
info@CeceliaTownes.com.
Hey.
All your flat tummy tea needs.
True. Hey, you saw, I don't know if you saw this, I put in my story, I was like, my stomach is flat, the L is just silent, but yeah. Yo, you've been a great guest, man. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
I'm glad we could get it done.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining the HU Movemaker podcast, where we highlight folks that have contributed to the Howard legacy at the highest levels. To hear more interviews or purchase merchandise, please visit www.humovemakers.com.